guys, welcome to my channel, Among Stouts. If you're new here, my name is Samantha and I'm a homeschooling stay-at-home mom of 4 kiddos. And in today's video, I wanted to share with you some of my favorite podcasts that are all about homeschooling and or parenting. So if you guys enjoy these kinds of videos where I share some of my favorite podcasts that I'm listening to, I listen to tons and tons of podcasts. So if you guys are interested in these kinds of videos where I share those, please go ahead and hit the like button. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this video. So there are lots and lots of really good podcasts to listen to, especially for homeschooling and for parenting. And I have shared some in the past, I think in like a favorites video or something like that. So there are some that I shared back then that I am not going to share in this video. I might be sharing one or two again, but I can't remember which ones I shared already. So some of these are going to be the same, some of them are going to be different, and they are not in any particular order. But the first one that I wanted to talk to you about that I have really been loving for probably about 6-7 months now. And I actually got to meet them whenever I went to the Teach Them Diligently conference, and they did like a live Q&A for the podcast. It was really cool. And so the first one that I wanted to tell you about is the Mom to Mom podcast. And so this podcast has Kate Battistelli. So if you listen to Christian music, Francesca Battistelli, she's a Christian music singer. Kate Battistelli is her mom. And then there is September. She is a co-owner with her daughter of September & Co. And she's also on the podcast. And then there's Jamie Erickson, and she's the author of Homeschool Bravely. And so these are like the 3 generations of moms on this podcast. And what I really love about their podcast is like you're getting all of these different generational perspectives. And so it's just really, really awesome to get that kind of wisdom in motherhood, parenting, and homeschool from those 3 women. And then they also bring on guests onto their podcast who have all been really amazing as well. So they have a range of topics in regards to homeschooling and parenting. And I find that their content in both areas to be really, really good, informational. I like that they're able to provide wisdom on so many different levels, from babies and toddlers to elementary age to middle school age to high school age to even adulthood. So there's just like, I mean it, like there's just so much wisdom in that one podcast, but they are a wealth of knowledge, and I really enjoy listening to all of their episodes. And so then the next podcast that I want to tell you guys about, and this one is geared more towards parenting rather than homeschool, even though she is also a homeschool mom. And this one is Parenting with Ginger Hubbard. And the podcast is hosted by Katie Morgan, and they're kind of co-hosts together, but Katie is like the one that kind of brings up the topic and asks questions to Ginger, and then Ginger Hubbard provides all of the information and the wisdom in regards to different parenting situations. And so I've talked about Ginger Hubbard before. I have all of her books now. I have some of her courses, and then I have she has like this chart that I purchased. It's like wise words for moms. So a lot of her parenting advice is helping you to reach the heart of your child rather than just the behavior, because all of the behaviors are stemming from a heart issue. So you can't change the behavior if not reaching the heart of your child. And so a lot of the information that is in some of her books and in her podcast, or in her books and her courses, she talks about a lot of that stuff on the podcast as well. But there's definitely way more in-depth information and wisdom from her books. So I really enjoyed having her books, but also listening to her podcast and doing her courses. I think she's wonderful. I absolutely love her. I got to meet her as well at the Teach Them Diligently conference, and she's amazing. My husband and I both enjoyed her session that we went to together. So again, that was Parenting with Ginger Hubbard. Really great podcast. And then number 3 is Courageous Parenting. And I randomly found them, I think 2 years ago now. they're one of the first podcasts that I listened to, and this was whenever I was actually still, my kids were still in public school, and there was 2 podcasts that I listened to that kind of planted seeds of homeschooling in my heart, and their podcast is one of them. And so they talk about all kinds of things. They talk about biblical parenting in our culture, in our world today. They talk about homeschooling and why they chose to homeschool. They talk about all kinds of things, and it's just so much good biblical wisdom and truth that they are sharing with us here on their podcast, and I can't recommend them enough. They're also a really good follow on Instagram. I think he's Resolute Man and she's Courageous Mom, and then they also have an account for Courageous Parenting. I follow all 3 of them. I really, really look up to them and their parenting advice, and highly recommend it, especially if you're looking for biblical parenting encouragement. And then another podcast I've been enjoying, and this one is a little bit more newer to me. I would probably say I've been listening to this one for about 2 or 3 months now, and it's Let's Talk Homeschool, and this is with Rachel Carmen and her husband. They are I think they own Apologia, the curriculum. And so I really enjoy their podcast. They talk about homeschool, but they also talk about parenting. They just did a whole series on parenting that was really, really good as well. So I've really been enjoying that one. It's a lot newer to me. I've watched them on other platforms for like homeschool conventions that are online. And Rachel Carmen, she has a book on teaching that child. I don't remember exactly what the book is called, but she's really great and has a lot of information on teaching strong-willed children, and the one that is like just that child. And she obviously, as the writer, could explain it to you way more than I can. But it definitely spoke to me in my heart, because I have one of my kiddos that is that child, and it's really helped me to understand him better, but understand how to parent him better and more effectively. So Let's Talk Homeschool, that is that podcast. Really, really good. And then the last one is, I think I've mentioned this one before, maybe, is the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. And this one is co-hosted with Yvette Hampton and Abby Ranella. And I really enjoy listening to them. They also, kind of like Mom to Mom, they bring on guests for a good bulk of their podcast episodes. But they are wonderful interviewers, but they themselves are so incredibly encouraging and motivating for homeschoolers. They are very knowledgeable on like a lot of homeschool laws, and I think that Abby Ranella even runs her state coalition. But they themselves are a wealth of knowledge, and Yvette Hampton and her husband worked on filming and creating a movie, Schoolhouse Rocked movie, and so I'm really excited for whenever that will come out. I don't know all of the information on it, but they've talked about it over time in their podcast. And so I'm really excited about that. And then, again, they bring on tons and tons of guests for different areas of how to equip you for homeschooling and for parenting, how to encourage you in homeschooling and parenting, and all different kinds of topics. Their podcast is a really good one. And then as a bonus, I wanted to add in 2 of my favorite podcasts and my kids' favorite podcasts that we enjoy listening together. And the first one, our number 1 absolute favorite podcast to listen, for my kids to listen to, and I even listen to it with them, is the Truth Seekers podcast. And I think I've mentioned this in a video before as well, but she is a wonderful storyteller, and she really draws in my kiddos in the delivery of how she's telling these Bible stories and getting the kids involved. And my kids always really enjoy the recap. She does like a quiz, so she'll have a series of Bible stories of whatever book of the Bible that she's doing, and then at the end of it there's like a Bible, she doesn't call it a quiz, she calls it something else, but it's basically a Bible quiz, and your kids can like answer the questions and submit your answers to her. or whatever. And so my kids really enjoy that. And then another one, we don't listen to this one as much unless we're fully caught up, but we're not fully caught up on Truth Seekers right now, so we haven't been really listening to this other one. But it's the second one that we listen to and another one that we all enjoy together. And it's God's Big Story. And kind of the same thing. They're just telling Bible stories, and it's really good as well. But I would say our number one favorite is Truth Seekers. And that's all that I have for you guys today. These are some of our favorite podcasts that we've been enjoying lately. If you guys have any podcast recommendations for me, please let me know in the comments below. I love listening to podcasts. I don't even listen to music on the radio anymore. Anytime we're going anywhere, we're just listening to podcasts. So if you guys have any recommendations, please go ahead and put them in the comments below. I would love to see and hear what you guys are listening to. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit the like button. And if you aren't already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit subscribe. I'd love to have you here as a part of my community, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!